Grandfather mumbles to himself while carefully digging through a tree and stumbles on what appears to be a muddy stone. He hurries back to his workshop to clean it up and inspect it. He realizes that the stone is an ancient medallion and it flickers as light shines on it. Meanwhile, Timour, a 12-year-old boy from Moscow, is talking to his friend and is trying to strike a deal with him about buying a Rubik's Cube. In the gym, Timour is playing basketball and tells another boy about how life works as a game, and all you need is to understand it to win. He says all this in an attempt to market a toy he wants to sell. Timour tries to explain how a toy set can help him achieve his dreams, but he's suddenly cut off. Meanwhile, Timour's father speaks to the principal in his office. His wife comes in, and they begin the meeting. The principal informs the parents that their son is going around the school and selling toys to the kids. While trying to explain the situation, the parents become stressed and have a brief argument with each other. The principal then tries to make a suggestion but gets interrupted by Mother, who threatens to divorce Father. She quickly saves the day by suggesting that they take the summer off and rest together. Father remembers that his father's birthday is coming up. The principal approves and says visiting him is an excellent idea.
65-70.
Later on, the duo seems to agree as they board a flight from Uzbekistan to Tashkent, where grandfather lives. At the airport, Timour's dad signs the form to retrieve his imported car. The family loads up the car, and they all make their way to grandfather's place. In the car, Timour's parents begin arguing about finances, and Timour drops a suggestion that he can help make money, but his parents decline. Timour then asks who he'll have to live with if they get divorced, and they realize that he might have heard their argument in the principal's office.
Помог уже.
When they arrive, father and mother rush out of the car to exchange greetings with grandfather. Later in the backyard, grandfather is cooking, and he tells Timour that he can have some food that's on the table. Timour asks him if he ever gets lonely as he's all by himself. Grandfather says he doesn't get lonely because his chickens, turkeys, and pet donkey keep him happy. This isn't what Timour means by loneliness, but grandfather rushes inside to get some ingredients for the food he's cooking. Mother prevents him from entering, saying there's a surprise and she will bring everything out for him. They come out shortly after and surprise him with a cake, while also singing for him. They ask that he make a wish before surprising him with a gift, which he reveals is a smartphone. Father explains that grandfather can use the phone to communicate with them regardless of where he is or what the time is. Grandfather is happy that he has access to the internet and speaks on how he'll check out their online store. Father suggests that they all have tea in a bid to cut him off.
С днем рождения.
Not long after, grandfather receives lessons from Timour on how to adjust his phone's brightness and how to customize its background and fonts. He takes his lessons seriously as he's very interested in learning to use the phone. That night, Timour stares into space as he's still awake and can hear his parents' discussion on how they're exhausted. He then sees grandfather moving to his workshop. Curious to know what he's doing, Timour sneaks out of the window after father leaves the kitchen, where he was just discussing with mother. He arrives at grandfather's workshop and rummages around while trying to find new things. His attention is suddenly drawn to a medallion that's in a box. Seeing that it seems like a labyrinth, Timour pulls out his phone and uses the picture and voice assistant to find similar images of it online. The phone's volume is high, and the noise attracts grandfather's attention to his position. He asks Timour what's going on and who he's talking to. Timour tries explaining what he's doing, but grandfather is left confused.
Замечательная идея.
While all this is happening, father looks at a picture of a much younger Timour. He goes through some documents in a locker and finds his old Rubik's Cube. This puts a smile on his face as he stares at a family picture. He then begins solving the cube while happy. Meanwhile, Timour and grandfather are on their way to a bench when Timour's phone's AI gives a description of what the item is. It also finds a similar image on a website written by a historian named Farad. Farad Sedovich. It states that the item is part of a personal collection belonging to the last Emir of Bukhara Emirate, Mohammed Alim Khan, and this piece is part of the missing treasures of Alim Khan. Timour sees that the item is extremely valuable and will fetch them a huge amount of money if they sell it. He realizes that he needs to verify that it's legitimate and exactly what it's worth, so he doesn't get cheated by the antique dealers.
Чего-чего?
He asks grandfather where he finds such items, and grandfather says it's from a site close to his garden. Grandfather was mostly troubled by what was troubling Timour's parents. Timour sits down and quickly changes the conversation. He speaks on how they'll have to go to Tashkent the following morning to meet the historian, Farad, who is having an autograph session on the release of his new book. He's their best shot at finding out the artifact's true price before they can go to the antique buyers. Grandfather says he's against Timour's idea and goes to bed, saying he won't be a part of it. Timour wishes him a happy birthday and makes his way towards the donkey. He apologizes for once calling it names and attaches a saddle to it. His idea is to use the donkey to go to the station and then return in the evening. On his way, he talks about how his parents will divorce and probably shut down their online store. It's impossible to run the store without startup capital anyway. That's why he wants to sell the artifact and fix everything that's wrong with his family. In the morning, grandfather wakes up and sees the message Timour left. Meanwhile, Timour makes his way to the station on the donkey with an assist from the AI. He finally arrives and gives the donkey a treat, thanking it before instructing it to return home. He then makes his way to the train before it leaves. Inside the train, Timour records a video, but is suddenly startled by grandfather's voice and drops his phone. His grandfather is happy to see him and informs him that they will go together. He mentions that there have been persistent rumors of the existence of Alim Khan's servants. Back at home, Timour's mother finds a note that states, "Left on a business trip in Tashkent." It asks that they don't worry as he'll return soon. She panics because of this and is also worried because he doesn't answer his phone. She is unaware that he can't answer his phone because it fell out of the train.
Ходят упорные слухи, молодой человек.
At the train station, Timour and grandfather get down and go into the city. Timour suggests that they go in a certain direction, but grandfather recalls the times he spent with his wife. He is suddenly snapped back into reality as Timour gets his attention. While walking aimlessly, grandfather decides to ask for directions towards the House of Knowledge, and the man tells them to go straight. When they get there, Gulia is giving a presentation. She talks about Uluh Beg, who possesses the Watch of the Sages, an item that allows him to be present at any time and place. Legend has it that he could be among them even as they speak. She is cut off shortly after grandfather knocks over some books. They apologize and take their seat. She states that he created the Mirage space in the likeness of the City of Jars. To get into the space, you need to go through the gates, and the Watch of Sages will be there to grant you access.
Входа куда?
Farad interrupts by asking her whether there is any specific procedure regarding her presentation. She responds by saying that there is a step-by-step process that will lead to the Watch of the Sages. For instance, one of the keys is a sextant, but not everything is clear to her yet. She stated the purpose of the sextant is obviously to indicate where to move, as well as the chronometer, which indicates the exact time of entry. Farad asks her where, and she says it's in the Mirage, but the keys are not enough. She feels as though there is still one more key. Farad has a proud look on his face as he signals his assistant to tell her to end her presentation. Before leaving, she tells the audience to be sure to visit the eastern part of the building if they need more info or want to see the chronometer.
Нужна экспертиза.
Somewhere else in the building is a man explaining several of the antiques, and when he tells them to move to the next section, a mysterious figure moves around. This person happens to be a thief. The alarms ring, and then they discover an item is missing. After some parkour moves from the thief, the guards give up and the boy escapes. Later on, Timour and grandfather walk up to Farad after waiting in the queue and ask how much he thinks the item will be worth. He tells Farad that he found it on Farad's website. and has come to meet him in person. Farad then asks who found it, and Timour says it is his grandfather. Farad brings out a notebook and writes the price he can offer immediately, but gets interrupted by Gulia, who claims it is priceless. She states the details of it, which look like a labyrinth, and also explains how it is a puzzle. According to her, it is one of the world's lost treasures. Timour takes permission from Farad and steps away with Gulia, while Farad offers grandfather a bottle of water.
Ну, Гуля.
Timour signals grandfather so they can exit, and when they leave, Farad looks at them with strange eyes. At a private sector in the building, Gulia distracts the clock using a phone call, and she leaves her position. She, Timour, and grandfather sneak into the back room. Gulia then takes the keys from the clerk's desk and opens the door for them to proceed. It turns out the room is filled with documents relating to the fall of the Bukhara Emirate. She instructs them to stand still, and as they wait, a man suddenly walks past, but luckily he doesn't notice them. Gulia then comes out of the room with a letter from the servants of Alim Khan. She reads the letter, and it seems to be talking about waiting for their lord. Suddenly, Timour notices the picture in the letter rhymes with the puzzle in his possession. This gives the gang the mindset that they could be on to something really big. On the other hand, the thief shows up again. Back at home, Timour's parents are contemplating, but the dad's focus is on a Rubik's Cube.
Они вместе. Нас ли на станцию поехали?
The donkey returns home, and father explains that he and grandfather could ride it into the town, and it could come home on its own. Meanwhile, Gulia finds another book in the House of Knowledge, and it explains that Light Zoo appears to represent September 1920, when the empire fell. She begins piecing things together and realizes that Alim Khan had sent a caravan and faithful servants, accompanied by a vizier, to Samarkand with the great treasure before the empire fell. The book shows proof of the existence of the lost treasures of Alim Khan, and then suddenly the lights go off, prompting Gulia to turn on a flashlight. She suddenly points the flashlight at the thief's face and screams, dropping the phone on the ground. The light comes back on, and the clerk comes into the room while asking who they are. Grandfather's clever thinking gets them out of the situation as they make their way out of the room.
А вечером, наверное, вернутся.
Back outside, Timour and his grandfather go to get something to eat, and they have a little conversation. Grandfather suddenly asks for the shop owner's phone so he can place a call home, but the line he tries to call is not available. The thief continues lurking around while slowly following them. On the train heading to Samarkand, grandfather recalls his time with his wife before Gulia suddenly walks in. She asks if they think they'll discover a new treasure without her. Grandfather asks where her parents are, and she dodges the question by saying knowing their location won't make a difference because they're in the excavation site in Sogdiana. Timour is happy that Gulia is following them on this adventure. Still, grandfather opposes the idea, leaving Timour hurt, and he leaves. Gulia excuses herself and goes after him. Back at the train station, Timour's parents arrive and separately search the premises for Timour and grandfather, but they don't find them. The couple rushes to the nearest police station. At the station, the security guard from the first incident is reporting his case, detailing how they were forced to move from roof to roof, chasing after the thief.
А мы их встретим.
The security guard is already excusing himself when the couple barges into the room to lay their complaints. They inform the police that their son and his grandfather are missing. Back on the train, Timour tells Gulia that grandfather doesn't understand their situation, and she decides to have the conversation over tea so they can seal their deal. When Gulia leaves to pay the bill, the thief passes by and steals for them while they're clueless about what just happened. The thief then strolls by a cabin and sees a bag that's close to grandfather. He stares at the bag as though it is his next target. Back at the police station, Timour's parents view footage of what happened earlier that day. The couple draws the officer's attention once they spot Timour and grandfather.
Ну что, в Самарканд?
They step out of the office shortly after, and Mother says she's not leaving until she finds her son. Father corrects her, saying, "Our son," and mentions how they can't work on an empty stomach. Mother agrees after a brief silence, and they both leave to find what to eat, pausing their search until the following day. The crew finally arrives in Samarkand, and Gulia suggests they go on an excursion to better understand their environment. The museum guide discusses the tomb of the Timourids upon entry. She speaks about where Ulugh Beg, the Sultan of the Timourids, is buried. Bored by what they are saying, Timour notices that Gulia is acting fishy and decides to follow her. When grandfather is done talking to the guide, he comes to the realization that the kids are missing. The kids are at the tomb of Ulugh Beg, where Gulia decides to take charge. She asks for the artifact and then places it on the tomb. The duo suddenly hears footsteps approaching, and as they're about to escape the tomb, it suddenly lights up, revealing what seems to be a message. Gulia is shocked by what she sees and takes a picture of the displayed image. They rush and hide to avoid being spotted by the guards. Upon reaching outside, they encounter grandfather, who is very angry. Grandfather doesn't care about the photo of the strange message and is more interested in them going home. Gulia says he can leave if he wants, but there's somewhere else they have to go, being the observatory. Grandfather calls her while yelling that they must return to the station. Meanwhile, Timour's parents are on the street and get some food to eat. Mother continues trying to reach Timour but isn't able to. Father, on the other hand, believes that his son has a plan. Mother suddenly lashes out because of how calm he is about the situation and how his approach to life remains strange even when things seem abnormal.
Что говоришь?
The crew arrives at the observatory, and grandfather is confused as to why they're there. Gulia searches for stars instead of searching for treasures. She explains that they need the device to find the stars that will enable them to search for the remaining paths that will lead to the treasure. Some parts of the device are unfortunately buried underground. Gulia suddenly remembers that she still has the sextant. They can navigate the stars with their help, but need to look at them correctly to understand where to move. Back at the station, Timour's parents reminisce on the day he took his first steps and how it happened at his grandfather's house. Mother remains sad because she still doesn't know the whereabouts of her son. They suddenly receive a picture from an officer who had previously taken their number. The couple sees Timour in the picture and sees that he's with the thief. They also realize that Timour is in Samarkand. The officer asks if they know anything about the other person in the photo, but they have no idea who he is. He then says he will get back to them when he gets more information. Father turns on his car and says they're going to Samarkand to find Timour. Meanwhile, grandfather tries using the sextant to check the constellations.
Море песка.
The thief looms behind them and gradually approaches. While grandfather is giving Gulia the coordinates, she notices that they are leading to an island located in England. Timour asks grandfather if he's intentionally giving the wrong coordinates so they can give up and return to the station. Grandfather mumbles in annoyance because his plan to have them return home has been foiled. He says they should go back to the station because they don't have money to stay in a hotel. Gulia informs them that she knows a place where they can spend the night for free. She takes them to a garden that has benches where they can sleep for free rather than paying for a hotel. The trio makes themselves comfortable, and Timour suggests that they search for Farad the following morning since they'll be late for the train. He then laments about his problems to grandfather, who asks if it's all about money.
Это точка в Атлантическом океане.
Grandfather tells Timour his backstory and how he was evacuated a long time ago. The Tashkent family took him after finding him. They found him in a boxcar where refugees are kept and immediately pulled him out. Before this, when he was barely a year old, grandfather's mother died, but he miraculously survived. He mentions how the family raised him alongside their own children and helped him get on his feet. Grandfather explains that they showed genuine love and happiness, and that's what everything is about. He turns around to check on Timour and discovers that he's already fast asleep. Seeing this, grandfather decides to go to bed. Unknown to him, Gulia listened to all he said and feels sad. Grandfather wakes up later that night and discovers that Gulia is missing. He hurriedly wakes Timour up, and Timour realizes that he's no longer with the artifact, indicating that Gulia stole it.
Фантазии какие-то.
Timour rushes to look for her without giving it a second thought. Gulia is walking on the road, and the thief spots her while on the rooftop. Timour confronts her as he asks what she's doing and instructs her to return the artifact. Gulia tries to make him understand that the artifact doesn't only lead to treasures. She says she's sure that it was passed on to servants by Alim Khan through inheritance, and Alim Khan instructed his people to find a place to hide it. Timour claims that the coordinates they have are wrong, but Gulia tells him that the paths truly exist and lead to the clock of the wise men. Timour asks if it's like a time machine, and Gulia says that it is, but no one believes her claims. Timour suddenly discusses his family problems and how he believes his parents will soon get a divorce. This will cause their business to collapse, and selling the artifact is the only way he can save their business.
Сейчас уже никто не помнит.
Feeling guilty, Gulia decides to return the artifact. Still, Timour asks her to hold on to it, saying they'll be continuing their journey together. Timour suddenly hears grandfather's scream and rushes to see what's going on. He finds the thief dragging the bag from grandfather and sprints into action as he pursues him. The thief, unfortunately, gets away and Timour can't find him. Timour returns to the others, and grandfather is happy that the bag was stolen. He believes the artifacts are still in the bag and they can go home since everything was stolen. However, the thief didn't steal everything, as Gulia was with the artifacts, meaning the thief didn't steal anything. Grandfather gives up his hopes of returning home as, going on, the adventure is inevitable. The thief returns to his employer, who is actually Farad. He empties the stolen bag, but unfortunately, it contains only toys, and the artifacts are nowhere to be found. Provoked by this, Farad decides to take matters into his own hands since his employee can't get the job done. He asks the thief for the chronometer he stole from the museum and drives away as he collects it.
К часам мудрецов.
The following morning, Timour and his grandfather walk up to Gulia, who is sitting by the fountain. They offer her some food, and she thanks them for it. Gulia explains that she now understands why the previous coordinates were wrong. She informs them that she was using the wrong reading system for the coordinates and decides to use a modern one. She uses the Greenwich reference points, and it turns out that the sextant points them to the Kalyan minaret, which is located in the city of Bukhara. Timour is happy and then borrows her phone to call his parents. He informs them they're going to Bukhara because they have something very important to do. Gulia switches her phone off once Timour is done with the call. Grandfather gets angry after realizing that Timour knew his parents' number the whole time.
При помощи него можно ориентироваться по звездам.
Meanwhile, his parents try calling back, but the call doesn't go through, and they decide to make their way to Bukhara. Mother also gives the police the phone number. Timour and Gulia wait by the road while grandfather tries to get them a ride. A car pulls over eventually, and the driver turns out to be Farad, who agrees to give them a ride. The car eventually ends up in a meadow, and grandfather tries to replace the water in Farad's car. Inside the car, Farad has a conversation with Timour, and Timour sees one of his toys. He tries to react, but Farad pulls out a sword and points it at his neck. Farad instructs Timour to get out of the car, but Timour refuses. Gulia asks if he's Alim Khan, but he says he isn't. He reveals that he's actually the vizier who was sent initially, and they wonder how he ended up in their timeline. Farad explains that Alim Khan entrusted him with the secrets of time travel, so he hid the treasure right next to the clock of the wise men, where no one will ever find it.
Возвращаюсь домой.
Gulia passes her phone to Timour while Farad doesn't notice, and Farad kicks him out of the car. He drives away with Gulia still inside and intends to use her to get what he wants. Grandfather thinks there's no way they can save her, but Timour realizes that the coordinates are on Gulia's phone and says they must head to the city immediately. While this happens, the thief watches what happens from a rooftop and decides to follow them. Farad takes Gulia to a hill and threatens to kill her if she doesn't hand over the artifact. She realizes she doesn't have a choice and hands it over. Farad then explains that his goal is to go back to his timeline, and the city of Bukhara will become the capital of his new world. He intends to go back in time to change the past, which will, therefore, change time itself. While Timour makes his way to the gate, he receives a phone call from the police investigator.
Что, хотите изменить прошлое?
Timour insists that he has to save Gulia from Farad because of the feelings he has. Farad opens the gate and Gulia realizes that she will cease to exist if he changes the past. Having nothing else to lose, she jumps into the gate and Farad follows suit. Gulia runs away and Farad pursues her. She stumbles across the clock of the wise men while running, and as Farad arrives, it's gone. He screams in anger and frustration upon seeing this. Timour takes a glance from the tower and discovers that they've been sitting on the clock the whole time. He gets down to inspect the tree and finds a seal on it. Grandfather uses his phone to search for the image and sees that it is the work of Master Suma, a descendant of Master Suri. Timour then asks his phone's AI for a location where they can view the works of Master Suri, and it provides them with an answer. Seeing this, they make their way to the given location, and upon arriving, Timour inspects one of the works.
А откуда она здесь?
He soon discovers that the work is a map pointing in the direction of the hourglass. Timour and Grandfather arrive at the gate and jump in immediately. Meanwhile, the police and Timour's parents arrive and are unable to track Timour as their phone has lost signal. The thief also eventually arrives at the scene and is confused by what he's looking at. Too scared to enter the gate, he finds a stray cat and tosses it inside. The cat doesn't return, and the thief realizes that entering is a bad idea. The thief searches around while looking for valuable items. He finds the artifact and then pulls it out. The gate suddenly vanishes, and as the officers arrive, the thief escapes to prevent getting caught. Inside the gates, Farad finally catches up to Gulia, but so does Timour. She sees Timour and smiles as she tosses the hourglass to him, telling him not to let Farad alter the timeline.
А что там?
Farad then threatens to harm Gulia if Timour doesn't hand over the hourglass. Timour then strikes the hourglass, causing it to break. Their entire surroundings turn golden, and they find themselves in the city of Mirage. They then realize they're in the hourglass, and while inside, they see parts of their adventures. Farad lashes out as time has caught up with him, and with this, they all return to their respective timelines. The crew gets out of the hourglass, but finds themselves in a desert. They initially think that all hope is lost as they're trapped, but the police investigation team tracks them down to their new location and comes to the rescue. Timour is reunited with his parents and embraces them. While Timour does this, Grandfather describes everything he saw. Surprisingly, Gulia was able to grab a jewel from a chest inside the gates, and she hands it to Timour. This jewel will help solve his family's desperate financial problems, which led him to begin the adventure in the first place. Timour tried his best to save his parents' marriage by saving their failing business. He found himself on an unexpected adventure that introduced him to new people and strengthened his bond with his grandfather. It also made him leave his comfort zone as he traveled to realms far beyond his own. In the end, Timour and Gulia saved the world, and Gulia helped him save his family. Do you think his family will remain happy after this?